Kepler 452 billion reals, Earth's muscular and suspiciously warm cousin. A rocky planet 5 times heavier than Earth, with shallow seas, potential jungles, and gravity that could snap Superman's spine in half. Welcome to Kepler 452 billion reals, the planet that looks like it was designed for life, if life were training for the galactic Olympics. It's in the habitable zone, receives slightly more energy than Earth, and to top it off, it orbits a yellow star almost identical to the Sun. Too perfect? Exactly. That's why we're here. Welcome to Mind-Blown Space, where logic is suspicious and the impossible is just another Tuesday. Today we travel to Kepler 452 billion reals, the world NASA called the most Earth-like, but which hides a few tricks under the carpet of its atmosphere. Located about 1,800 light-years away, this planet was discovered in the year 2015 by the Kepler telescope. It completes a full orbit in 385 days, basically a school calendar with no holidays. Its distance from its star is just over 1 astronomical unit, which means it's exactly where it should be, if it weren't for the fact that its star shines a bit brighter, 10% more, to be precise. The result? An average temperature of 27 degrees Celsius, ideal for a vacation. Or for fast-forwarding the end of the world with an unleashed greenhouse effect, Venus style. And now comes the most absurd detail. Its gravity is more than twice ours. In other words, any attempt to walk becomes a mandatory CrossFit session. Seriously, any hypothetical inhabitants of this place would need steel bones and lungs the size of a cow. But apparently, this helps the planet retain a dense and stable atmosphere. Great. A deadly and constant sauna. And life? According to some models, the shallow seas could host it. Sure, as long as those oceans haven't already evaporated due to an overly enthusiastic atmospheric composition. It all depends on how much greenhouse effect is cooking up there. In short, Kepler 452 billion reals could be paradise or a grill. K2 to 72, E, the cozy planet that wants to kill you with solar flares. Let's suppose you loved Kepler 452 billion reals but found it a bit crushing. You're looking for something friendlier, maybe a mild climate, solid ground, a place where you don't have to crawl like a wet rag because of the gravity. Good news, it exists. Bad news, its star is a ticking time bomb with violent outbursts. That's K2 to 72e, the galactic resort with stunning auroras and a decent chance of frying you like a microwave dinner. Located more than 200 light-years away from us, K2 to 72e orbits a calm red dwarf that, like all red dwarfs, is anything but calm. Although modest in size, its bad temper is legendary. The solar flares from this little star are not exactly polite greetings. They can rip off your atmosphere in one go or turn your pretty biosphere into a radioactive field. But not everything is cosmic drama. The planet is within the habitable zone, receives even more energy than Earth, and has an average temperature of 22 degrees Celsius. Perfect for a barbecue, if you manage to survive the stellar wind. Its gravity is a bit stronger, but nothing that a pair of well-evolved legs couldn't handle. It's larger than Earth, has more mass, and probably a dense atmosphere rich in elements. Now comes the mind-blowing part. If its atmosphere manages to withstand the stellar assault, something that would make any hypothetical magnetic field very happy, then the planet could sustain liquid water. And that, in galactic language, translates to, hey, life could show up here. Of course, that life wouldn't look like anything we know. With a different light spectrum and constant radiation bombardment, the plants might have purple or red leaves, and living beings would need tougher adaptations than a cockroach during the apocalypse. Think thick skin, fireproof cellular structures, and resilience that would make any tardigrade cry. K2 to 72e is, without a doubt, one of the strongest candidates for a kind of life that doesn't mind a little atmospheric chaos. A cozy place? Maybe. Safe? Only if you have a lead suit and nerves of steel. Welcome to Mind-Blown Space, where logic is suspicious and the impossible is routine. Gliese 2b, a frozen planet with central heating included. 15 light-years from Earth, basically just around the corner, if you're driving at the speed of despair, lies a planet called Gliese 2b. And although its name sounds like a Wi-Fi password, it's one of the most serious candidates for hosting life beyond our little blue world. Of course, only if you enjoy living on a cosmic ice sheet with a view of a tiny star that barely glows. Perfect for people who are always complaining about summer. This planet was discovered in the year 2022 using the radial velocity method, a technique that basically detects when stars get nervous because something with mass is orbiting them. The culprit in this case? Gliese 2b, A rocky planet that orbits so close to a star so small it makes our Sunday look like an influencer addicted to attention. Now, the conditions. It receives less energy than Mars, which means its surface stays at a delightful minus 40 degrees Celsius. A paradise for mutant penguins, suicidal bacteria, or any form of life that enjoys skating on frozen oceans. And yes, I said oceans. Because here comes the mind-blowing part. Scientists believe that despite the polar cold, this planet might have liquid water in its sunlit hemisphere. How is that possible? Thanks to two favorable factors. 1. Tidal locking. The planet always shows the same face to its star, keeping one half warm and the other one terrifying. 2. A potential greenhouse effect that heats things up more than expected. Basically a low-consumption cosmic heater. The gravity is almost identical to Earth's, so walking wouldn't shatter your knees. And its size is so similar that you could build a replica of your house without redesigning the toilet. What we still don't know is whether it has an atmosphere, any geological activity, or if it's just a death trap with a sci-fi series name. Is Gliese 1002b humanity's next home? Only if you don't mind ice, darkness, loneliness, and a star that looks more like a candle than a sun. Welcome to Mind-Blown Space, where logic is suspicious and the impossible is routine. Gliese 1002c, the sibling planet that looks like a freezer, but comes with volcanic surprise. If Gliese 1002b seemed cold to you, wait until you meet its sibling, Gliese 1002c. This exoplanet is so far from its star you'd think it was exiled for bad behavior. And judging by its surface temperature around minus 90 degrees Celsius, we wouldn't be surprised if the star just couldn't stand it. Still, here we are, talking about it as a possible candidate to host life. Because apparently, in space, having volcanoes under the ice is now considered promising. What a time to be alive. This planet is located a bit farther from the center of the system than its brother, and it takes more than twice as long to complete a full orbit. It receives about 4 times less energy from its star than Earth does from the sun, which in human terms means freeze, creature. Everything points to its surface being a frozen and inert slab, a cosmic freezer with no off switch. But don't leave just yet. The real show is underground. According to simulations, the core of Gliese 1002c might be active. Very active. And far from being bad news, this opens up the possibility of a subsurface ocean heated by geothermal activity. Lava under the ice, steam in the abyss, and if we throw in some organic chemical compounds, we have every optimistic astrobiologist's favorite scenario. This, by the way, isn't that far-fetched. In our own solar system, we have moons like Europa and Enceladus, where oceans under the ice are suspected to exist thanks to internal heat sources. So if a lost moon can hide hot water and weird molecules, why not an entire planet? Of course, the big issue is still the atmosphere. We don't know if it has one. And if it does, it's probably made of gases unfit even for cockroaches. But that doesn't stop models from insisting that, somewhere in a dark and slimy corner, life, even if it's microscopic, squishy, and totally unglamorous, might be squirming to survive. So there you have it. Gliese 1002c, a freezer with a volcanic soul. A world that seems dead, but might be boiling on the inside. Like a frozen dumpling you microwaved the wrong way. Subscribe to Mindblown Space if you enjoy these journeys to impossible worlds where ice, lava, and cosmic madness are always on the menu. And leave us a comment. Would you live on one of these planets? See you on the next orbit.